All right, welcome everybody here and watching the recording to the 21st EuroSalon and a special EuroSalon in celebration of Michelangelo's 550th birthday. So born in the state in 1475. Um, so I want to go through and I want to do like a typical salon, and a couple of you here in person are new to the salon concept, and I want to explain that a little bit, and then we'll kind of go through it. There's donation suggestion, but that's completely voluntary. It's not uh, there's no, it's not paid to get in. No, I want you to feel free to jump in and out if you got to leave, if you got to go get a cup of coffee, if whatever you'd like to do. But if you want to help out with my European travels, that's what this is for, because I am working on a sequel to Stories in Paint, the 50 artworks for American museums. I'm working one for European museums. And these Euro salons are my way of trying out artworks that I'm seeing in Europe because I can't really give tours in Europe easily. These are kind of a substitute for these tours. And typically I do these with particular art museums in Europe. But Michelangelo, I haven't really touched upon him. And I haven't really touched upon sculpture. And funnily enough, I haven't done much Michelangelo at all in all the years that I've known. Now, partially that's because he's primarily a sculptor, and sculpture, there are rights issues that are a little bit more tricky when you try to reproduce them. The photography is important, that there's a rights holder to photography. For paintings, it's just the artist. But so with all the images, or 90% of the images I've got, are from Wikipedia. And if you want to find the photographer, go to the Wikipedia site and find there. I would like to do something maybe a little bit unusual, and I'm curious how you guys are going to approach this. So typically with these salons, I share 5 artworks. We give titles, kind of like our experience in the art museum, and we pick one out to spend time with. And unlike the art museum tour, I'm not coming really prepared for these. I'm not setting things up. This is kind of like a collaborative. Let's read this together and piece it together. And the goal is to have the full experience, to go down to the personal connection. Now, I think I've got 2 batches of artworks that I'd like to unveil to you. One is 2D paintings and drawings, and the other is sculpture. And I would just like to start with the paintings and drawings, and if we have some time, go to the sculpture. Now, you're going to see a lot of Michelangelo works, but I want to focus in on 2. And, oh, I don't want to tell you the controversial part yet. I'll hold off on the controversial part. Okay. All right. So you guys have been telling me a little bit about your experiences with Michelangelo's works. If you think of Michelangelo, you think of really monumental works. My relationship with him, most of the works I saw in Italy were trips back when I was in my early 20s. There was a fantastic exhibition at the Metropolitan Museum of Art of his drawings. That was about 6, 7 years ago now. So many of his drawings, and that's where I feel like I really got to know Michelangelo himself. But almost everything about his art is really grand and monumental, and he's probably in the history of art considered like the great historic art that defies the patrons, that defies conventions, that defies society, that will take this mammoth-sized marble and say, of course I'm going to find the sculpture inside of this and get that David out of there. Or, you know what? No, I don't like painting, but I'm gonna paint that ceiling much better than you tell me how to do it, Pope Julius II, and create a goddamn masterpiece. And Joseph, you attended that exhibition. Yeah. So I think we all kind of know Michelangelo to some extent as this hero of art, this indefatigable figure that represents kind of like the determination of the artist to create. And I think sometimes that kind of overtakes the kind of approach that I like to have to art, which is let me immerse myself in the story and personally connect. It's hard to do that with the David when you've got so much attachment to the David, or it's hard to do that with the Sistine ceiling when you've got so much attachment to what goes on with the Sistine ceiling, the background, the history, the monumentality of it all, just overwhelming. and the humanness of it might kind of leave. Or you just know Michelangelo. How many books are there? I've got stacks of books. What's all kinds of different books. Ross King is a good source if you want. Or the movies like that Agony and Ecstasy, that novel plus the movie with Charlton Heston and Rex Harrison going at it. So there's so much built up about Michelangelo. It's hard to see through those layers, a little bit like the Mona Lisa. Hi, Carrie. Welcome aboard. I'm just getting a little bit of a preamble here. Okay. So I want to dive into these two realms, 2D realm and sculpture realm. But real quick, if I may I share just a couple of things that are coming up as far as touching the art updates. This month is going to be Tamara de Lempicka month. Portrait artist, early 20th century, and there's an exhibition at the Museum of Fine Arts in Houston. I'll be giving tours there, and I'll be doing a seminar, online seminar on March 23rd. So just a heads up on that. And I'm doing another iteration of the Touching the Art 201 course. If I starting in April. So if you are interested in learning more about that, that's an in-depth immersive getting more out of art 8-week course. You can let me know about that. Now, let's do this. I've got, I think 5, and like you're familiar with doing, here, if you want to put a title in the chat, or if you're not comfortable in the title, you can shout it out. Or if you're not comfortable with chat, shout it out. Just remember the title is just your first words that come to mind. And even if it's like, oh, I know this one and I'm just going to give like the real title, just that's fine. That's fine. Whatever comes to mind. If you want to try to prime yourself to be naive and to look at not the the known conventional thing about it, what immediately comes to mind is like, oh, there's the David, but rather naked guy, buff, whatever you're seeing there, just come put it in the chat. Okay, here's the first one. What's your title for this one? And that's all you get. 2.6 seconds. All right. Okay. And keep typing if you're still typing. And let's see what we have. Oh, by the way, Kirk, this is the one that is at the Kimball Art Museum in Fort Worth. And it is smaller than you'd expect because it's like he did this one like he was 14 years old. Okay, Kirk, oh, you have Tumultuous, Enric, Hades Battle. Cool. Jen, Battle in the Sky. Marty, Birds a Buzzin'. Joseph, Nightmare. And Carrie, Chaos. Now, if you can alliterate with your name, that's bonus points there. Okay. Right. Next, what's your title for this one? uh, I love the personality coming through these. Yeah. Keep typing if you're still typing. Okay, Enric, you have family is everything. Ah, the sentimentalist. Jen, serious family. Joseph, passing the baby. Your turn, Dad. And Kirk, moment of solitude. Okay, great. Here's number 3. And this one is a drawing. What's your title for this one? And keep typing if you're still typing. Looks like we got several of you familiar with the Prometheus myth. Um, so Kirk, you have Prometheus. Jen, you went with the Dr. Lecter version. Liver with fava beans and a nice Chianti. And Enric, Prometheus, and Carrie, Prometheus. And Joseph, Eagle Pins Man. We are. There's a humor in that too. Okay. Was that like man bites dog? Isn't that all right? Um, what's your title for this one? Okay, okay, okay. Okay. And keep typing if you're still typing. Joseph, you have the touch. You're making me think of that 90s commercial. Touch the feel, the fabric of our lives. Gosh. Okay, and Kirk, not feeling it today, bro. Yeah, I'm buff, but I don't want to work out. Jen, touching the divine. Carrie, touching God. Great. And one more. What's your title for this one? Keep typing if you're still typing. And let's see what we have here. Kirk, you have Hephaestus Falls. Jen, Trouble from the Skies. Joseph, Rough and Tumble. All right, great. And oh, Enric, you have Triptych. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the beginning, and I want you to tell me which one you are most drawn to, and if you want to, whatever title you gave it, or just a number. So here's number one. I mean, we could almost call that Trouble in the Skies too. Here's number two, Pass the Baby. Number three, Prometheus or Eagle Pens Man. Number four, The Touch. And number five, Rough and Tumble. Which one are you most intrigued by here? Number one, number two, number three, number four, and number five. Okay, so far, got two votes for number two, one vote for number one, three votes for number five. All right, here comes the controversial part. Let me ask you, why did nobody pick this one? Is it too familiar? Seen it a lot? Yeah, right? Me too. Can I tell you something? I've never done a proper reading of this painting before. I've never really fully touching the arted this painting before. And this is what I'd like to do. I'd like to invite you to join me in immersing ourselves in this scene. It's too much in the background of Michelangelo, yeah. I'm wondering if we can break away and start to look at this artwork from the details and building up using what we know about how to bring the artwork to life and to immerse ourselves in it. And then personally connecting to the characters. Would you like to give this a try? It's maybe with Mona Lisa and The Thinker, it's the most iconic artwork in the history of the world. But can we get past the popularity? So let's do this. I'm going to start off by giving everybody 3 minutes to spend time with this artwork as you like. And here's what I recommend. I recommend getting a sheet of paper or an open doc or just in the chat and doing a reading of the artwork. And Marty and Jen, this is just writing out everything that you're seeing, a little bit following the kinds of questions that I would ask during the tours. And I want to just give this as a kind of quick recall. Don't worry if you're not taking all this in, and if this is a little bit new to you, you might get some familiarity with it from hearing others' observations. But this is just a kind of quick recall. The basic questions are who are the characters and what's happening. Okay. And don't just simply say, oh, that's God. No, look at who it is. Pick up the details, pretend you don't know the background story, and start with what you're seeing. And then immerse yourself. What sounds and sensations are there? What are the characters saying? Or what are they thinking? Or what they say if you're given a quote? Rewind and play. What's going on a few moments before and what's going to happen when you push play. And then the last two, that's a little bit more general. But mainly immerse yourself in this. Quotes, movement, sound, sensations, and then we'll work on the personal connections. I've got lots of close-ups for this, and I'm going to share them all with you. And I just want to set this up by going here, just to indicate a little bit. So this is the center of the Sistine ceiling, and you can see it's framed by these architectural implements here. And so the architecture and some of the figures kind of border into the scene, but what we're doing is we're treating that scene with the young man and the vigorous old man with his coterie of cupids. We're treating that scene independently from everything else. Okay. So I've got several close-ups, but I invite you to take 3 minutes now to just describe everything you see going on and maybe to try to immerse yourself in it. Here we go. About another 20 seconds or so. And if you're writing, I invite you to finish the sentence that you're writing. To find a stopping point. All right. I feel like I could have gotten a lot more. Um, but I did notice a lot of things that seem to add up to what I hadn't really seen before in this. So I'm wondering if anybody would like to share what they've got. I like to give priority, especially to what you've written out, because it's a record of your experience of the artwork, just as you wrote it. Um, if you'd like to rather just share particular observations, that you can do that too. But I want to see if anybody wants to share either by putting it in the chat or by reading it out loud what you've observed, what you've written.
Luke, I could read if you'd like.
That'd be wonderful, Joseph. Please do.
A young man lounges alone on a hillside cliff, and a stream flows down beside him. The old bearded man is protecting his children from the wind that carries them across the sky, all wrapped in a pink sheet. They have come from afar and are about to touch base, touch land. The old man reaches to touch the young man's hand, his finger, the intermediary between them and the land. They are they have reached their destination, and the lone man finally has some company. Period.
All right. I'm putting in my highlights from what you wrote. So you're seeing kind of this one solitary person by themselves in this group coming, led by this patriarchal figure who's protective of them as they're flying through and having come to finally the place where they're going to settle in.
Exactly right.
Wonderful, Joseph. Thank you. Thank you, Joseph. That was
Sure.
great. Enric, I'm wondering if you'd like to read what you've written out loud, or would you like for me to read it?
Yeah, sure, I can read it. I just wrote my descriptions as I saw them and as they
Wonderful.
focused
Wonderful.
in. Adam is placid without purpose or motive, barely reaching out. Adam has a submissive quality. God is muscular, energetic, and with great purpose. He's the only one clothed, uh, shroud wrapped around a shoulder wrapped around a beautiful young woman. The rest are children like characters pressed into a shell covering them. The children look claustrophobic.
Children look claustrophobic. They do, don't they? They're all squished in there. Okay. Wonderful. So you're looking at the difference in the bodies of the two, and the musculature of God, and then the yeah, the
Yeah,
energetic musculature of God. Yeah. And then that group of children. So there are no men in there. It's children and the woman. And the woman, I want to go take a closer look at her right here. Oh, yeah, I should have zoomed in on her. Did you see her eyes?
She looks quite modern, actually. I mean, for the time.
I mean, it's almost like a Tamara de Lempicka figure. Uh, yeah. I wonder, give her a quote. What is she thinking? Yeah, Enric, that's what I'm thinking too. Go ahead. What are you thinking?
Oh, well, hey, he's kind of cute.
Yeah. 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 Who is that hunk? Exactly. Hey, let me take a
Maybe I
better
like
look
him
at
better
him.
than God.
Isn't and she's pulling away, or she's got God's arm there, the old man's arm, and she's kind of trying to peer out from behind him to take a look. Who is that?
I'm tired of him.
Okay, good. All right,
She
let's see.
seems she
Go
seems
ahead.
more concerned to me. It doesn't, her
Mm.
expression to me doesn't look like the expression of someone who is happy to see him or thinking positively. There's something about the raise of her eyebrows and her looking to the side that makes me think that she's looking at uh, like perhaps concern to be replaced, or like concerned that what's
Oh,
being happening or being created is going to be a threat to her. I don't think she's happy about it.
But
interesting. So
I
what
I felt
quote?
the same way.
Yeah. Okay, so
It's
what
like
quote
who
would you
is this
imagine?
guy and what the heck's going on here?
Who
Because
is
he's
this guy?
uninterested in them. He's either not doesn't want to join them or doesn't want to
Uh-huh.
help them. It's this
Uh-huh.
oddity going on. Yeah.
But
So am I gonna come out of a rib of that guy's body?
there seems to
No,
be
keep going.
almost a
Mm.
smile on her lips coming up, coming
So
out.
Enric, you're kind of thinking maybe there might be a little bit of a smile. Jen, you're
Yeah,
looking at the raised eyebrows and thinking of maybe some concern. Yeah, I think I see a little bit of both of that. So either way, it's not an expression of recognition, like and of overwhelming joy. It's like of questioning, right? I think we can agree on that. Like, who's that? And
yeah,
whether
what
it's a
does this mean? Yeah.
yeah, yeah, kind of like that. Okay. So let's see. Kirk, I'm curious if you'd show your mellifluous voice and read what you wrote out loud. Would you do that?
Sure. I mean, it was just some descriptive
Absolutely.
observations. A man is looking at something, but his features are lackadaisical, almost enervated. In his right hand, he seems to hold something. An old man is surrounded by cherubic creatures, reaching out to something with his finger outstretched. It's almost as though he is being held back by someone. No, I think it's that woman. Uh, a young girl holds the old man's forearm. His left hand seems awkwardly held uncomfortably. His demeanor is determined and a calmness is over him. He seems encased in a fabric that also encases the cherubs. Cherubs.
Okay. And just to clarify, when you're saying the hand was awkwardly held, were you referring to
Like
the
his
God,
finger. Yeah, sorry.
the
Like his
God's
finger,
hand?
it's like
Yeah.
his the other finger.
So,
The one that's in the with all the
Left hand.
cherubs.
Left
Yeah,
hand
this
oh,
side.
oh,
guy,
Left
got it,
hand.
got it.
left hand.
Oh, this one
Yes,
over
there.
here.
Yeah,
Oh,
it looks
holy
Yeah.
really
moly.
yeah, it
What
looks like
the
he's gonna
heck's going?
break. It's like he's like holding on to something.
Yeah.
It seems very awkward. It
It's a
seems
very
very
distorted
uncomfortable.
finger.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And I just
So,
took notes on it.
yeah. So that this is good. Whenever I see a detail, I always try to like integrate it with the rest. Does the I mean, that's a really contorted hand and finger. Does that match the intensity of the rest of him? Maybe it's the most
Kind of.
intense part.
Well, 'cause he's definitely reaching out to that person. It seems like he's being held back
Mm,
almost.
like right up
So
here.
that's the impression I got.
Yeah.
He's being held back, and it's like if you're held back and you're, I don't know, holding like this and you're trying to go this way and you're
Mhm.
pouring into two different directions.
All right, great. Those are lovely. Now I want to ask some guiding questions here. Okay, so what movement do you see in the scene? What
So I
movement do you? Mhm.
I tried to do the thing we did at the museum where you put yourself in the position, one of the
Yeah.
positions, and see how it makes you feel. And I was doing that with with the woman. And to get into that position, you really have to be pulling back from something.
Oh, yeah.
So what made me I think part of what I'm responding to
Yeah.
and why I see her the way I do, or what I think she's thinking, is that what she was doing before that was kind of sitting more upright normally, right? Not having her neck kind of pulled in and where that shadow is. And then how she would get there would be to pull back, right, from that
Yeah.
position. And so to me, the action seems like that's the result of a pulling back from something.
While all the other little children are kind of moving forward in this mass of things that are going on. So she's pulling back and the children are moving forward. Okay. Yeah. And I like that you took that pose. What other movement do we see going on in the scene?
I felt like he's sort of saying, "Why aren't you coming along with us?" It's like he's reaching for him, but then the guy on the left with who seems totally uninterested. It's like, that's okay. I'm not going to come.
Okay, so you're imagining kind of the conversation that they're having here as a questioning. Why aren't you going
Yes,
to come with us? And the guy who's sitting there is just, I don't really care.
complete disinterest.
Now, if you rewind this a couple of seconds, where is the God clump? Have they been there for? Has he been holding out his finger? Have they been kind of right there for a while, or did he just arrive?
It's a frozen moment of motion.
And I think that's the key for me of motion,
To me,
because go ahead.
no, to me, as I said, it's like the wind has swept them across the sky, and he's just about to, just at the moment of getting to his destination. So it's, to me, it's a
Mm-hmm.
scene of movement. It's not a static scene.
Yeah, Joseph, I'm looking at something like that green drapery down here, or the flowing drapery, especially back here, and then the beard.
Mm.
It feels like he is dashing forward, that he's flying forward, and he's going towards this figure. So a few moments before, he was way off doing something else, and they're arriving here. And so in the next moment, that forward momentum is going to have him touch. Okay. So we've got this figure who's very lackadaisical. I described him here. I'll read what I've got real quick. A young man lies back on an uh, empty bump of land, one leg outstretched and the other extended on his knee as if he's reaching for a cocktail. I half expect to see him with sunglasses as he lounges back on his beach towel. A strong old man with a shirt that's revealing his buffness flies around like a witch in Harry Potter. His arm extends to touch the lackadaisical man. The face, and go into his face, looks concerned with wrinkled eyes as he stares forward and his beard billows. The young man's eyes, this was something that I hadn't really noticed, and I think is really interesting here. Going here. The young man's eyes look kind of eager, as if they want to be reached, but are somehow, but he somehow can't move. And I imagine him thinking, I wish I could have it. I yearn for it. And I imagine the old man thinking, I will save you, my son. So I don't know. Do you guys see a little bit of kind of yearning in his face? Or
Yeah, the eyes definitely. I never really noticed his eyes, how wide open they are.
they don't look tired. They don't, the lids aren't drooping over.
the most intense part of him. I mean, his body is very languid, and he has this stare, intense stare in his eye.
And so it makes me think it's almost as if he's the effort of lifting that arm. He's like he's stuck there. There's no motive force in him, and that arm that he's lifted had to take a lot of effort, but he's trying. It's like one of those in movies when like the character is like paralyzed from something, and you can see the vividness of the eyes. Um, so that's something I'd never really paid attention to.
It's
Okay.
like a baby wanting a parent to give them purpose or reach out to them.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So now the background story. And then we're going to personally connect to this. Yes, we are all God or Adam. So background story, of course, this is the creation of man. And the rest of the Sistine ceiling, or half of the rest of the Sistine ceiling, God is going around creating, in the 7 days, he's like creating the heavens and the earth and separating the light and the dark. And here are the animals, and here's the moon and the sun. And he's going around, flying around, creating all this stuff. And here's the culmination. And the interesting thing is he's not creating the body of man. I think in the Bible, and if somebody has some Bible knowledge, or wants to do a quick Google, he picks out clay from the earth and makes Adam out of the clay, and then he creates. But the body of Adam is there. So he's not, in order to create this human being, God is not molding the flesh. The flesh is there. The beautiful flesh is there. And so the conventional idea is that he's sparking him to life. Yeah, exactly. You're stealing my words, Enric. Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry.
You're not allowed to steal my words. I'm the authority here. No. So a divine spark, as somebody mentioned before. All right. I don't believe in God. So which character am I going to empathize with? I think I can empathize with both. So how am I going to make the moment abstract enough for me to be able to see it as a real life moment? I don't. Go ahead. Oh, Marty. Oh,
Sorry.
okay. Oh, just okay. All right. Good. I like it. Just make it a little bit dramatic. Pause there. So, if I put myself in the position of God, do I try to spark life into people? Have I had moments where I'm about to spark life into somebody that I've been really trying to, and maybe they wanted, but they're kind of reluctant to? And then you know what I do? I nod vigorously. What do I do for a living? I'm constantly like, hey, kid, Crime and Punishment. It's great. Did you get it? With the theme? Look right there. So this is the moment right before the spark happens. I can stay religious and I can think of like Jean Valjean when he gets converted by the priest in Les Miserables. Or, for those of you that are fans of Helen Keller and Annie Sullivan, I was thinking to myself, this is not when Helen Keller realizes what language is, but the moments before that. When she's priming the pump and she's like getting all the water on, and Annie Sullivan is routinely like spelling in her hand, and it's right before the moment where it clicks. And it's going to click in a moment. So this is, for me, a scene of the moment prior to the light bulb going off, and it's not an individual like eureka moment, Archimedes in the bathroom. It's someone providing you the spark to have the eureka moment. So I'd ask you, maybe in your life, when have you been God? When have you had the moment where you are on the precipice of being able to give somebody some kind of realization or spiritual uplift?
Well, I don't know about spiritual, but I am in Richmond, Virginia to teach at a swing dance workshop this weekend, so I
Yeah.
plan to be that guy all weekend long. Like if I do my job right, I'm just gonna do that over and over again all weekend to
I
like
mean, and
many
you probably,
people.
yeah, 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 and you probably have a lot of reluctant dancers. They're like, I may reach out, and you're like, here's my hand, take my hand, come on. And then suddenly they get in the dance floor and they're like, wow, my feet are lighter than I thought. I'm not a hunk of clay. Hmm. Any other personal or literary moments that might come to mind of the prelude to a spark?
I mean, can I just for
Yeah,
the yeah, even though I know this is not the historical thing that's actually happening, in terms of empathizing that the woman who's looking at this and
yeah.
to me looks like this is not a good idea, right? Like, what are you doing here? I've definitely had friends who I felt were giving too much energy to a friendship or a romantic relationship, and I was like, oh man, it's gonna go off a cliff. Like, what are you doing? Don't do that. So I feel like I've been in the position of this woman being like, don't do it.
There's concern about it, like you're maybe having a discussion with your friend and they're about to like send a text to like pose an intervention or like to rekindle. No, no, no. Let them lounge around and drink beer with their buddies.
Yeah.
Um, don't do it.
I've
Yeah.
had
Mhm.
the
Go for it, Eric.
opposite, the other side, which is I've had relationships where a woman looked at me at least two times, and it felt like it touched who I am, my soul, and it sort of felt a spark from the other person.
That's great. That's great. Um, and you're generating some thoughts for me, and you're oh man, you're making me think of oh 25 years ago, I had this period of depression in college. And I was like, I stopped going to class for a little while. And I remember I had a friend, oh, Sarah. She like came over to my place and I didn't want to answer her door, but she kept knocking on the door and took me out to coffee. And just that gesture, like I was very much an Adam just lounging on my patch of grass there. But she was so insistent like God there. Okay. Yeah. So that's the flip side of it. When have you been the Adam? All right.
The flip side, Adam, it's I can understand. I sort of empathize with that a little more in the sense that to a lot of part of my life, I would relate to like, why do you want to dance with me? I didn't always get it in many instances, or why were people be interested in me? And it's I've run through that a lot through
Hmm.
the years, and not as much today. I'm more conscious of it,
Hmm.
but that's where I can empathize more with Adam. It's like, what do you want me to come for? You don't really, this why, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
With
That's yeah, I can see that. That's great. Um, Final two questions here. Um, what would you call this besides the creation of Adam? And what's a favorite detail?
I mean, I like Spark of Life.
Yeah. And Kirk, I'd be curious if you think of any literary or maybe anything from the Iliad. It's like this.
Well, I mean, I think there's so much with the mentor-mentee relationship generally here.
Mhm.
You know, father, son, and like you were saying, teach. And I think that's in pretty much every work. I mean, you could like Luke and Obi-Wan, like you can, there's always that moment of, you know, Yoda on the back and he's trying to figure it out and then he figures it out. Right. So I think there's pretty, I mean, I think why this is so popular is it captures something universal about that relationship.
Mhm.
And I think it's even interesting that the old man God is feels like he's almost being held back. Like he has distractions, but he's focused on his dude.
Mhm. Yeah, kind of like he's a coach, and there's one special player that he needs to reach. You know, he's
Yeah.
got all these others. Yeah. Gotcha. But no, yeah, I like your Yoda Luke moment. Mhm. Yeah, this is kind of almost hero's journey, mentor mentee. Yeah, that I hadn't thought of it that way. So Enrique, you have father's love. Jen, alternate title. We don't need anyone else in our already complex polycule. And there's that's the first time I've heard the word polycule used in years. Okay, that's great. Yeah, she's got this vivid expression, doesn't she? Okay, favorite detail? I'll go first. I think mine is the realization of his expression, his vivid eyes, that there's a yearning in him that is like he's made of clay, but there's the anticipation of the spirit, like like Annie Sullivan could tell that Helen Keller wanted to reach out. Yeah, and a child wants to learn. Any other favorite details?
I like the three heads above the left shoulder, yeah, of God. And especially the first one, the way the hair is streaming back from the wind,
Yeah, yeah,
and how intently they're looking as well.
yeah. And what you're making me think of, Joseph, is all the poses within this polycule are so much more animated than Adam's. This
Yeah.
is a bundle of energy. I can imagine kind of the writhing going on in there in this claustrophobic cherub space.
And they
Yeah,
seem to have
yeah,
so many different reactions and
yeah,
carried along in different ways and pushed along
yeah.
different.
They do have different reactions. So it's the range of spiritual response of human emotion that could be possible to Adam once he gets that spark. Cool, cool. Any
Some
final thoughts? Yeah, go ahead.
some of that range of motion of emotion though is because I think there's a sort of an age difference within the wonder of the ones on the shoulders looking out. So they're younger.
Mm-hmm.
And so their thought process is they're not maybe sure of the whole situation, right? They're
Mm-hmm.
seeing something different than maybe what is really happening. Whereas the older girl with the one whose left arm is around with the lovely like what the hell's going on thing here is more mature and has a different view of this and has a different feeling of it. So they're definitely in different states of where they all are that are in there because it looks like there's an age difference throughout there. So I think that would be expressed in their emotions being very different.
Yeah, I think that's a good observation. And to follow that up, traditionally, guess who she's identified with?
Don't know.
Adam and
Yeah.
Well, I was hard pressed to say is that really it's an interesting presentation of this, but then I guess in the creation aspect.
Mhm. All right.
It's
Let's
interesting.
see. Go ahead. Go
Well, I
ahead,
was gonna
Chris.
say, like, I think I appreciate you doing this because it's interesting how it's so overshadowed by what we know about it.
Mm.
Like we really don't see what it's really about, which or we don't think about it because we just have it told to us so much.
And it's hard to separate out in your mind
Yeah,
too.
it's hard. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I appreciate
Could
that.
she be Lilith?
Oh, I don't know Lilith in the Bible. I've always thought of her, and I think she's thought of as Eve, and she's still kind of in the bosom of God as the potentiality of, like the idea of Eve is there, but she's gonna Well, you know what? She's kind of coming out of God's rib too, and here on the side. So there's a later creation of Eve where she is kind of coming out of Adam's chest that he does. Okay. So, all right. We went longer than I was expecting with that, but I hope that that felt um, interesting and fruitful. And hey, Andrew. Oh, hey, Rachel. We just wrapped up with a reading of the most famous Michelangelo there is. So what I'll do is rather than take you through for a full other reading, I want to share with you another batch of sculptures this time and give quick titles. And then um, if there are any particular questions about Michelangelo, I think I know a lot about him. And if there's like any anecdotes you want to hear or any kind of connections of Michelangelo to his artwork. So Rachel and Andrew, what we did was we treated this scene naively and we did a reading of it. And so we were seeing all kinds of things that we hadn't seen before. And we were also empathizing with the characters and personally connecting. Jean Valjean the um, and the priest came up, Yoda and Luke came up, Annie Sullivan and Helen Keller came up. Okay, so let's shift gears here and do another unveil. All right, 5 artworks, 5 titles, and anybody wants to stick around after that, you're welcome to. 5 sculptures. First one, what's your title for this one? Okay. Keep typing if you're still typing. Enrique of Zeus, Jen Wise King, Kirk Wisdom, Andrew Poseidon, Rachel Pondering Man. All right. Here's number 2. And Marty, I'm cool. I'm cool.
I'm sorry.
All right. Next, what's your title for this one? Henrik Contortionist, Kirk Discomfort, Andrew Ow, Jen Struggle to Move Forward, Joseph the Twist, Rachel Bound, and Marty, You Caught Me. Well, I'd be interested in the tone of that. It's like, You caught me, or You caught me. Okay. All right. Next. What's your title for this one? It's tough, isn't it, Andrew? When you know it so well. Just go with your subconscious. Just let it go. There, oh, there you go. Haha, show it. Oh, you found the real one. That's so small. Okay. Joseph, you jumped in with perfection. Jen, gazing at danger. Kirk, let's do this. Andrew, or no, you the tough. Rachel, suave. Marty, just another day. Okay, I'll look for that story, Andrew. All right. 2 more. What's your title for this one? Hey, Kirkiev, I'm getting out of here. Andrew, what's that? Jen, caught uncovered. Rachel, conquest. Enric, you're going Robert De Niro on us. You looking at me? Joseph the wrestler and Marty off to the hunt. And one more that might be hard to separate from, but see what you do with it. Hmm. Okay, Jen, you have my child. Andrew, fallen lover. Enric, devastated. Rachel, comfort. Joseph, wasting away. Marty, so sad. Okay, so if if you could like teleport yourself to one of these statues in the world, which one would it be? And would it be Zeus here, number one? Would it be this struggling guy, number two? Would it be this perfection, number three? Would it be this conquest, number four? Or would it be this wasting away? Number one, number two, number three, number four, and number five. Which one? So
You're
far, oh, go
you're
ahead.
asking where we'd want to be transported to?
Yeah, which one do you want to spend time with? Which art, that's another way of saying which artwork do you want to spend time with? If we were to do another reading, which one would it be for?
Yeah, but with these, it's like, which one do I want to talk about? Which one would I really want to see?
Oh, okay, so
You know
it's
what
a
I'm
different
saying?
answer for you?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so. Because it's like, these are also famous. There's some that I just want to see. I've never seen the David, right?
So you'd want to be transported to it. Yeah. Got it.
Um,
Got it. Okay, I can see how
sorry,
it's a confusing question. Yeah.
just for people like me. This is one.
This is one,
I'm just gonna go with one.
two, three, four, five. So what's okay? So Enric, Joseph, and Andrew, three. Jen, so much different person, endlessly engaging to see. Excellent food all around the museum. No, you can't do that. Otherwise, you're not going to have the David body. And Rachel, five, but only because you've already seen. Hmm. Yeah. And Kirk, number one. Okay. So if we'd had time, guess which one I would have picked to do a reading of?
Two.
This one.
Okay.
The famous one. Again. Yes, Luke, you're taking us to the famous one. Now, I want to show you just the lineup of images for it because this is one you think you kind of got a sense of. Oh, humanism. Oh, the hero. But this is one, if you look more carefully, it captures a particular kind of moment in life with a particular kind of reaction that is so unexpected. And I'll just do a rotation of the images here. Yeah, I got you. I'm taking care of this. That's right. My butt's looking good. I got that rock in my hand. Okay. All right. Maybe I got this. Oh my goodness. Just want to give you a sense of those facial expressions that he's got. That change when the lighting changes a little bit, and a change when you've got a different angle of it. And the kind of confidence that you think you're seeing in the pose is actually something very different. Yeah.
So my
So
husband did a
go for it.
reading of this with he was a literature teacher, but he did a reading of this with his students.
Yeah.
And you guys could geek out about it someday. I'm sure you would have a lot to talk about.
Uh, absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So I want to see if there's anything in particular that you want to ask about or anything about Michelangelo that you want to share. I've got my candles to celebrate his 550th birthday and the great art that he's brought. Andrew, you said you had a story. Is that something about David? Is that something you'd like to share?
And I
I
have a
miss it.
question.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Let's see if you
So we saw David in
Bye,
person
Jen.
a couple of years ago, and I'd been really keen to see the statue. It had been very meaningful to me, even though I'd only seen pictures of it. And you get there, and it's this big group thing, and there's this mob of people, and it's just so busy. And you've got this little headset that your tour guide is talking to you in your ear, and it feels like very very much like it cheapens the whole experience that this is a commodity. And I just pulled the thing out of my ear. I walked straight through the entire crowd, ignoring all the rules about you're supposed to be here at this time and whatnot. And I literally spent 45 minutes, an hour, staring at the statue from one angle, moving 5 degrees, taking another 2 or 3 minutes at this angle, moving 5 degrees, with just tears streaming down my face as I went all the way around. I don't know, 2, 3, 4, 12, I don't know how many times. And it's like every other human in the room just vanished. It was such an incredible experience that Rachel had to like drag me out of the room because I wasn't even listening to the guy anymore. And you walk out in the street and it's like coming back to Earth from another dimension. And I wanted desperately to have some memento, some remembrance of that experience, because I've had experiences with art before, but nothing like that, nothing even close to that. And you walk out, and of course, there's a jillion little guys hawking like awful plastic copies of the David, and it's like, no, 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 that's absolutely not. I wish I had a pocket-sized version of this statue. That's what I want. I want this beautiful, perfect sculpture, just shrunken down because I don't have 17-foot ceilings in my house. So there was nothing available, and I was kind of sad about it. A couple of days later, we're at a different museum in a different part of town, still in Florence, and we were getting shooed out because we had stayed as long as you're allowed to stay. And we're going through the gift shop, and I had been chattering on about how what I really want is like somebody make a laser 3D scan and then 3D print in marble aggregate so that you can get like this, you know, and the technology exists. We should be able to do this. This thing should exist in the world. And Rachel turns around and points and says, "What about that?"
Yeah, there you go.
And that's exactly what this is. This is a 3D scan that has been scaled down in a computer, printed in marble aggregate. And it is one of my favorite statues. And it just sits right here on my desk with me. And every day I notice it and draw inspiration of facing the hard challenge.
Yeah.
And being
Facing the hard
afraid
challenge.
and being okay with being afraid and moving forward anyway.
Because there is fear in his face. And there is hesitation in his body. He's leaning back. His torso's leaning back. And the way I see it is he's breathing in. And Kind of getting that breath like right before you jump off the diving board.
Mhm.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Andrew. Kirk, you had a question you wanted to ask?
Well, it's just a Michelangelo question.
Go
So,
for it.
yeah, if you had to choose one thing that he made an impact on art, what would it be?
As an impact on art,
Yeah, like an influence on art that was different after him.
one thing that he made that's an influence on art that's different after him. Um, the two things that immediately come to mind are the two that we spent time with, the David and the Sistine ceiling. Um, and I think kind of what I was talking about at the beginning, where he has the aura of the artist hero who is indefatigable, who takes on the leaders of the world to create his vision of things. I think that kind of artistic personality where there is my vision and I want to try to achieve that. You see that manifest itself in everyone from Caspar David Friedrich that I've seen to Howard Rourke and Ayn Rand's The Fountainhead, that kind of determined figure. So it's more about the story of Michelangelo in terms of that creates these monumental works, that strives to put in his self. So one thing we didn't do with David and we didn't do with the figure of God is we didn't ask Michelangelo, how would you personally connect to this artwork? And he would definitely think of connecting himself to this. He would definitely think of himself and his poetry, all the poems that he wrote. He had a poem about, you know what? And this is probably something they've probably heard of Michelangelo. Uh, the soul of the figure is there in the stone. All I have to do is to remove the outer layers, to chip away at it, and just to find it. He's a creator, and when he's seen this, he's not imagining himself. I think as if I were to ask him, I can imagine him saying, I'm not teaching somebody else. Adam is the stone. I am God, and I'm reaching into the stone to imbue it with a soul. And so all these biblical stories that he has, they're all the conventional stories, but I think he's constantly seeing how they tie into whatever he's going through. And that legacy of the artwork is ultimately at root what a statement about what matters to the artist, what the artist's view of life is, what's going on with him psychologically. That I think is the primary legacy for any of his works. Okay. Anything more for Michelangelo? All right. Yeah, Joseph, go ahead.
Just quickly, similar to Andrew's experience when I went to see the David,
Mhm.
I photographed it from circumnavigated it and photographed it from all these different angles. And I really tried to get in on some of the details. And one of my photos, I did a blog about it, a photo blog about it, and the German publisher contacted me, and it was just a picture of his hand with the stone
Mm.
against his
Mhm.
thigh. And it was printed in a book on Michelangelo in Germany. German publisher picked it up. So I just wanted to tell you that. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's fantastic. I think I remember seeing some of that. So, what do you make of that hand, Joseph? What do you see in that hand? Why did that stand out to you that you wanted to take a photo of it?
yeah, when I look at sculptures, I love to look and see if there's a particular detail. And I took it from the back, from his backside, where you could see. And what stood out is how the rock is. I mean, if you look at it, it's not really. It's a rock, but I really got in on it. And you see how the rock is attached to his thigh. I don't know why he did it that way, but and the way I got it, the light was like on the inside of his fingers, and it was a really nice photo. So I was happy because that was something that I was really focusing on, was just all the little details in the sculpture, the small, the veins in his hands and his neck and all. So I was happy that someone picked up that, not a picture of the whole sculpture, but that little detail, because that's what I was,
Yeah.
so
And
I
you
was,
know what, Joseph, you're kind of making me think that that question I like to ask about what's after we go through the artwork, what's a detail you like about it? Maybe a kind of reformulation of that question is what's the photo that you would want to take of it? What detail would you want to have as a photo? Yeah.
yeah,
So
that
what's
would be it. That's why I was so happy that they
yeah.
picked that. I remember distinctly. I was like, this is a great detail right here from the angle I'm taking it at. And so
And
very
yeah,
good.
so just to kind of wrap up and to link this hand with what we did before and to maybe put a bow on this, the more you get into an artist and the more you see the vocabulary that they use for their body language, the more clarity you can get in reading the different figures, especially for a sculpture like this. So if we're looking at, Joseph will end on the hand here, this hand, we can then go back to the hands of Adam and God
Mhm.
and compare them and see maybe a little there's definitely, it's not totally casual. There's the gripping of it, and compare that hand to the hand that we have, let's see, all the way back here. Okay, I'm going to blow out the candles. I don't think we'll see each other for the next 50th, the 600th anniversary. So who knows? But happy birthday, Michelangelo. And thank you for celebrating it with me. Good night, everyone.
Happy birthday,
Night.
Michelangelo.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Good
Thank
night.
you.
Thanks, Luke. Bye-bye.